It's that time of year again. Let's look at what was left behind in the Talladega campgrounds. Rodney Childers comments on his exit from Spire and his future. And Rockingham, is it going to be a Xfinity and truck only date going forward? Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Before we get into the news, interesting tidbit of news that came out from Adam Stern over at Sports Business Journal. On Tuesday, Steve Phelps, the president, now commissioner of NASCAR, is being eyed by the PGA Tour to take over as president of the PGA. The interest from Phelps' side isn't known, at least according to what Adam Stern said, but that could be an interesting thing to follow as we go forward. The France family views Steve Phelps as a massive asset to the sport, and part of the reason I think is why he got that commissioner title is because they were worried about other people poaching him, much like this. So we'll see how all of that plays out. Let's get into what we want to talk about today. We're going to start off with things that were left in the Talladega infield. Every year, the admin over the Talladega Twitter account does a thread of what was left behind. And each year, I'm slightly concerned, but also entertained by a lot of the things that are happening here. And we'll get started with this rug, which is probably for camping. That's what those holes are cut out for. Hopefully nothing nefarious, but it's still a nasty looking rug at that. Then we're going to go on to this kiddie pool right here. An inflatable kiddie pool. That water, you know what's in that? Hepatitis. You could not pay me to get in that water at all. That is disgusting. Somebody on TikTok said that was our pool, and some people drunkenly jumped into it. Terrifying there. What is this? West Virginia? We're just burning couches now in the Talladega infield? This is Alabama. Don't stoop to the level of West Virginia at this point. It is an efficient way to get rid of trash, so I can't really fault the logic behind that one. Listen, they're always going to have the weekend at Talladega in the campground. That man's going to have those memories for life and the rubber burns to go with it. And unfortunately, she just got discarded right there in the trash. Still inflated, though, so at least there's a level of respect. I've been to a lot of NASCAR races. Deodorant is a must-have, especially in the infield. And to have a full stick of Suave deodorant right here, that's probably worth some decent bit of money in the Talladega infield, and I would urge all of you to put deodorant on because it is very much needed. Listen, having your tent set up for the door to walk right into the porta potty, that's just genius. That's redneck ingenuity. You know you're going to have a long night. Why not just set up right where you're going to be spending most of your night? Throwing up into a porta potty, though, is just downright repulsive, and I don't like thinking about it even a little bit. By couch standards at Talladega, this is like a Pottery Barn couch. This is straight out of Restoration Hardware. A nice leather couch in the Talladega infield. I know people peeled themselves off of this, whether they were awake or doing other activities at some point during the weekend here. That's just the whole awning of an RV, trashed and left right there. Don't think it came off the Dega-Bega, but somebody is going to get home and realize on Monday or Tuesday now, damn it, we lost the awning to it, and they don't remember how they lost the awning. That's about 10 pounds of sausage right here. How poorly was this sausage prepared, or did these people just make so much and then forgot where they were at? I am not really sure, but I could feed a small army on the Talladega infield right there, which honestly could probably take down small countries if you get right down to it. Then you have this egg, which somehow survived everything. Not really sure, but impressive nonetheless. The admin said these boxes are sealed up, and I need just Brad Pitt to come in here now and yell, "What's in the box?" I do actually want to know what's in the box. But by Talladega standards, this was a pretty tame edition of what was left behind. Somebody did leave behind a full bar, plywood, and 2x4s and all. And listen, the price of plywood and 2x4s is going to go up, so that might actually be worth something. You can reuse that for sure. Reuse and renew and reuse, or whatever that saying is, doesn't matter. Either way, pretty tame, but hey, there's always going to be the fall race here, and we'll see how it goes from there. But I appreciate most people trying to clean up after themselves, maybe a little bit, but regardless, thanks to the admin for putting this out. For the first time, Rodney Childers has commented on his exit from Spire Motorsports, and essentially what it sounds like it came down to was just two sides that just didn't get along. Rodney has his way of doing things, and he's a guy that kind of keeps to himself, doesn't really do the whole sharing notes and working as a, the team aspect over there, which is fine. I mean, the guy's a Cup Series champion. He's got a bunch of wins, 40 NASCAR Cup Series wins. I don't blame him for having this thought process at all, but it just seemed like two, ideas that just weren't going to ever come together. So Spire had one way of doing things, Rodney had another way of doing things, and it just wasn't a culture fit for what they were looking for there. So they decided to go their separate ways before things got too bad. And I can appreciate that for sure. But Rodney said something that actually kind of made me sad. He said that after, the news came out that he got he and Spire had parted ways. He said his phone hasn't rang as much as he anticipated it to. And that's a real big bummer. But when you look at his stats in the next gen era, obviously since 2022, he had 2 years with Kevin Harvick, a year with Josh Berry, and a year with Justin Haley. Keep in mind, SHR was on its way out. There was a big decline, especially in the Gen 7 era for SHR. And then he's got a first year, rookie in Josh Berry, although he made select starts at Hendrick, and then he got put with Justin Haley over here. So the stats, you can say that they're skewed or whatever. He has 2 wins in the Gen 7 era, 17 top 5s, 35 top 10s, and an average finish of 18th in the Gen 7 era. Not exactly Hall of Fame numbers. And Rodney even commented about the Hall of Fame. And he said he wants to get 10 more wins. He wants to win another Cup Series championship. He's got a lot of things he wants to do as a crew chief still because he wants to be a Hall of Fame crew chief. And I would argue that he probably already is here. But when you look at his numbers from, the Gen 6 era to the Gen 7 era, he's had a harder time keeping up. And now, like I said, part of that could be a retiring and aging Kevin Harvick, a declining Stewart-Haas Racing, a rookie in Josh Berry, and then Justin Haley not really even getting to work together, beyond 9 races. So there's a lot to probably be said about the last, 3.25 years at this point for Rodney. But yeah, when you look at, the stats of some other crew chiefs, I can see why his phone isn't ringing. But I still think that Rodney Childers is an incredibly smart guy and could absolutely thrive in the right situation. It's just got to be that right situation. And unfortunately, Spire wasn't that for him. So we'll see what comes of it. But I would imagine that Rodney's phone is going to start to get some more calls as we get later on into this year and start to approach, heavy silly season. I think Rodney's going to find himself back atop a competitive pit box once again in 2026, if not the end of 2025. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, the guy absolutely deserves to be a crew chief in the NASCAR Cup Series. And last topic of the day, will Rockingham Speedway be just an Xfinity and Truck Series only date going forward? NASCAR President Steve O'Donnell commented about that and said that he and NASCAR kind of are leaning towards that just being a marquee date on the Xfinity and Truck Series calendars, and that they would look to try to get some Cup guys to come run those weekends there versus having a Cup race at Rockingham. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to get mad about this and be like, Cup needs to go back to Rockingham. Honestly, I think it would be interesting to see Cup back at Rockingham. I think maybe running the Clash there would probably be a good solution for right now. But when you look at points paying races and races kind of in that Southeast region in general, it is a highly saturated area. Well, NASCAR's in the Southeast, got to be down there. I understand that. I completely understand that made up Southern person that I just created in my mind for this argument. But at the same time, you need to grow, you need to expand, and you have other markets that need to have NASCAR in them because not all the sponsors are located in the Southeast. Sponsors are everywhere, and sponsors would like to see a nationwide coverage for the sport. So as fun as Rockingham might be on the Cup schedule, it doesn't necessarily align with the Cup Series schedule as it currently stands. And maybe having it as a marquee date for the Xfinity and Truck Series is the way to go. Seats 26,000 people, which is pretty small compared to, Cup Series standards, but it looks good on TV, right? Yeah, we'll talk about that. 26,000 seats sold out looks great. 75,000 seats in a half empty Bristol doesn't look great, but it's all about perception, I guess. Getting Cup drivers to come run that race, especially if they leave it on Easter weekend, the only off weekend for the Cup Series, is going to be really hard. I think that's not going to be a surprise to anybody to get them to come down there and run it, but I understand the thought process behind it. Regardless, I thought that the standalone weekend for trucks and Xfinity back on Easter at Rockingham was actually really good. I thought both races were highly entertaining on Friday afternoon and Saturday for the Truck and Xfinity Series. So maybe leaving it as a marquee date for both of them isn't the worst idea they've ever had. Now, I'm sure some people are going to have an issue with that, but I think going forward, that might be the way to go, at least for now. Like when, Kentucky had their only Xfinity date and Truck Series date, and they packed out for those races. And then they brought Cup, and guess what? Those races suffered. So it might be worth it just to leave it there as an Xfinity and Truck Series only date, but I'm interested to hear what everybody else's thoughts are. So let me know in the comments what you thought about what got left behind, the Rodney Childers comments, as well as whether or not Rockingham should have a Cup date in the future. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok @BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook @BreakHardBlog.